I mean, the smell was unbelievable. For the longest time, I couldn't quite square what my friends said about their parents with what I knew about my parents. This is in young adulthood, through my 30s, through my 40s. I just couldn't get it. People were saying, oh, my dad thinks it's a crime if you don't reuse the tea bag at least twice. And I thought, that's not how, my folks work. And some of my friends grew up with parents who had come from a country where they had lived in poverty and they wanted to have something different for their children, but still there was a kind of enforced austerity about, say, a tea bag. Tea bag being the classic example, or lighting 5 candles with 1 match, or whatever the things are. This was not how my parents were. Now, lest you think they were wasteful, which occasionally they were, if they were making tea, they would ask if someone else wanted some so they could make a pot, because 1 tea bag can actually brew 4 cups of tea if you put it in a pot. This is smart. This is a form of thrift that isn't excessively austere or wasteful. What do I mean by that? If you're using a tea bag an 8th time, it's no longer tea. It's just warm water that's slightly discolored. So there's something like, it's not really tea. It's not really warm water. It's just this thing. And I found out just a few years ago from conversation with my folks what it was like living under rationing during wartime. And both of them complained about it. My dad tended not to be a complainer, and they both talked about getting oleo delivered and the flavor, or the color packet. The flavor was already baked into the equation. It wasn't baked. It just was like this butter surrogate. They both hated it. And they talk about the job of squeezing the food dye and mixing it into the oleo. As a result, they both really loved a lot of butter. Maybe not too much, but butter was better. It's better with butter. And it had me think, that's the distinction between a Depression-era parent and a wartime parent. The wartime parent rations, but doesn't make you eat the bread that's been, sitting outside and having mold gather on it. That bread then goes to feed fish or ducks or something like that. That's a good use for the bread. But as I say this, I'm now remembering my mother cutting mold off of cheese throughout my entire childhood, so this whole story might just be baloney.